I wouldn't be a great host slash professor slash whatever if I didn't acknowledge that I can see some names. I wish I could ask y'all how many of y'all are students and how many of you are parents. But it is great to see you, LaQuesha, Kirsten, Kalechi, Clarence, my guest from 508, Pamela, Shauna. I bet y'all are awesome, and we are so glad that y'all joined us today. So we're going to try to do something interesting today. I thought we would do a little bit because I want to introduce you to the Office of African American Affairs. I'm sure and hope that you've heard a ton about it and you're looking forward to working with us. My name is Michael Gerard Mason. I'm the current Dean of the Office of African American Affairs, continuing an interim appointment, leading the office, making sure that your students matriculate in and graduate well. And we are lovely people and hope that you come and hang out with us just for a little bit. So we're going to do a couple of things today. I wanted to introduce you to the office through some of our core principles and ideas and programs, but we're also going to spend a ton of time thinking and talking with two fabulous students who, in many ways, I hope that your student or you will look up to over the rest of this year and maybe even beyond. That's the beauty of becoming an alumnus, is that you stay connected. So you got two people we're starting with. So I wanted to introduce you to OAAA by thinking a little bit about some things that we do. And you may have heard from, for instance, you may have heard from us during Fall Fling. Some of you came by, some of you might have come through during Spring Fling, and you might have met us and enjoyed our music and food and space. I hope you did. This year, I think people got beautiful t-shirts. I have some left. If you didn't get a shirt, definitely stop by and check in with us. But there's one key principle that OAAA has operated from for almost 47 years, and it's that OAAA operates in an opt-out way, not opt-in. Every student who communicates to the university that they are part of the African diaspora in whatever way and in whatever combination immediately begins to receive our services. We pair you with a peer advisor who I hoped that you all have gotten your letters from already. Let us know if you haven't. And we begin to do that right away. From the moment you get your deposit paid on May 1st, we start to talk with you and think about you. So we have been planning all summer for you, and that is great. In our office, we have a number of deans, we have some support staff, and we have a ton of students who are waiting to support you. And I wanted to share some things for the parents in the room and for people who will watch this. You know, my daughter always says, she always talks about receipts and making sure that people can prove what they say. I love to have this conversation with receipts in mind. UVA has figured out some things over these last 47 years. And one of those things is we are able to make sure that Black students who come to this university thrive, especially academically. We make it happen. And one of the things that's really fascinating is that over the last 15, 20 years, we've really refined some principles and strategies that lend itself to making sure that this thing happens. So for those of you who don't know it, UVA has been leading the country since we have been tracking graduation rates in this country almost 30 years. But more importantly, last year, the average graduating GPA for Black students from this university was a 3.45. I don't know where the rest of the schools mapped onto that, what you were looking at, but I can guarantee you that is phenomenal and is probably going to yield a great return on your investment. Thank you for choosing us. You won't regret it. And what's even more fascinating is that across the country, you may hear things like, across gender, there are differences in how people are performing. But the reality is at UVA, Black men and Black women are thriving well above the national average. So everybody, regardless of how you identify, are able to make good use of this place, I think. Now, I say that, and some people may look at me sideways because I'm an agent of the university. So I brought a couple of students who may tell that same story, but we haven't paid them. They're not paid actors. So, what you get is going to be real. So I wanted to talk with them just a little bit, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things that we do in our office. The first thing that we do more than anything else is we think a lot about academic advising. One of the things we know is that students will come into the university, and many of you are very gifted and have done well academically in high school. But one thing we know is that UVA is probably not high school. Even for students who did dual enrollment, it's a little bit different. So it's good to know that you can be anchored to people who can help you think about this place. And that's going to be really useful to you. And we do that partnering across the entire university, both directly to you as students, but we also partner across the university to make sure that any problems that arise in your effort to learn at this place can get resolved, because we want you to be able to focus on your learning. We do that through some very core programs. Those are, I think, the ones that I would love to highlight tonight are Black College Women, the Black Male Initiative, Black Presidents Council, and the Peer Advisor Program. You have already heard me briefly mention the Peer Advisor Program, and this is our effort to pair second, third, and fourth year students with first year and transfer students to help you get guided through that transition into the university and into your second year here. But we also have the Black Presidents Council, which is a group of Black representatives from about 32 organizations that have Black in their mission statements. So there are plenty of opportunities to get engaged in student organizational life that we would love for you to take part of. And we also try to create opportunities so that there can be predictable moments where you, as a student of color identifying as Black, may find other Black students. We've heard a lot that might be difficult at spaces as big as UVA, but it's a little bit predictable here. We create an opportunity for you to come together. And as you can imagine, we focus a lot on breaking bread. So you'll come together over lunch or dinner. And that might not sound great while you got a meal plan, but I can guarantee you second, third, and fourth years, that's going to mean a whole lot to you. Now, I know I'm doing a lot of the talking, but I also wanted to introduce you to a couple of people who will play a major role in your lives over the next year. And the first is Dean Kelsey Kelly Smith, an associate dean in our office.
Hello, I am Dean Kelsey D. Kelly Smith, the director of the Peer Advisor Program, one of the key programs in the Office of African American Affairs, where we provide students with a caring and a supportive environment, lending you a helping hand academically, socially, and psychologically. So when you say yes to UVA, you get someone that says, hello, welcome, by sending you a letter in the mail, introducing themselves. And that may be an individual who has the same major as you, comes from the same location, or has a similar interest as you. He or she will provide you some information about how to get connected socially, academically, and think about what you can do here to maintain your overall well-being so that this big place can feel like a little small place here, and that you can be welcome to the OAAA family. So we look forward to you joining us, and we thank you for choosing us to be your family as you come to OAAA and UVA.
Yes. Now, Tashara, my queen, thank you so much for that. I wish y'all could have told me y'all couldn't see all of these brilliant slides that I had prepped for this moment. I'm glad you got to see a little bit of Dean Kelly there. Yes, there are slides associated with this. I'm not just free balling here. I'm actually, following a script. So thank you for that. We also have some signature events. And some of these I think will resonate with you. Some of them we may have to think a little bit about because not everybody is interested in the same things. But some things that we have found to get a lot of traction over the last few years. One, we do an annual gospel concert, which I think is extremely important to a large swath of our community, both inside of UVA and outside. I think one of the most popular events that we host is Black Fridays. And on Fridays from 1:30 to 3:30, we try to have a predictable time where you can find people who look like you so that you can just drop in, have music, have food, have an encounter where you might begin to see people who you haven't seen all week. But more importantly, all of the deans will be there. So you're able to, if you wanted to, begin to convert this passive encounter into a direct service. So we try to have those things. We definitely do things through Black History Month. And we added some things because we're also trying to figure out ways that we celebrate milestones across the years. We noticed that students are looking for things that are special to them. For instance, during the second year, there are things that people do in the third year and fourth year. So we're trying to celebrate those things. And to talk about those, I wanted to try to introduce one other person, Dean Jeffrey C. Smith, an assistant dean.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Clay Smith II, and I am one of the assistant deans here in the Office of African American Affairs. I serve directly to our fourth year students, but I want to just welcome you to the university and just share a little bit about what our office does in regards to community engagement. We have in our cultural center two key things that help our students, our Black males and our Black women engage. One of them is called Black Male Initiative, where our brothers come together every week just to talk about what it means to be a Black male in the university, as well as the community and the world at large. We also have something for the sisters. We have Black college women that our sisters come together and they talk about what it means to be a woman at a PWI, as well as the world at large. So those are two key things that I would love for each and every one of you that's on this webinar to be a part of once you get here in the fall. As well as one of the big vehicles we use is Black Friday. And our Black Friday events are just an opportunity for our students just to gather as a community with food, fun, fellowship, and just have a meal right before you head out for the weekend. But then we also use it as a bridge to connect with other departments and schools across grounds, just to meet and be a resource to our students. And so those are just a few of the key things that we do here at the Office of African American Affairs. And there are other programs and events that we put on throughout the semester, throughout the year, to help you be engaged with the Black community here on grounds, but then the Black community in Charlottesville area. So I look forward to meeting you in the fall, and this is one of the best decisions that you've made by coming to the University of Virginia. I hope you have a good rest of your evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Dean Smith. Now, since y'all missed my beautiful slides, let me just go back and just put these on the screen so that way you can rewind the webinar at some point and see that I wasn't just making that stuff up. It is data. There are some fancy charts and graphs. And this is important because this is our office, and you'll see the peer advisors. So just spend some time, rewind, look at those slides when you get a chance. What I would hope to do, though, for the rest of this time, okay, so what I'd hope to do is spend a little bit of time in conversation with these two beautiful students. I think I've introduced you a little bit at the beginning, but with us today, we have Tashara Robertson Lewis, a fourth-year student who is our current Student Council president, and then Ryan Gonzalez, a fourth-year student, Echo Scholar. So what I'd love to do is just invite the two of you to introduce yourselves, and we'll start with Tashara. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just have a conversation. Is that okay? Excellent.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be in this space with you. I wish I could see your faces. My name is Tashara Robertson. I'm a fourth-year student. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia. So Virginia has been my home forever. I, at the university, study political and social thought with a double major also in African American and African studies. And so I'm happy to talk a lot about the Woodson Institute because I think it's an amazing program for Black students specifically. And yeah, like Dean Mason said, I am this current student body president at the university. And then I'm also involved in other offices. So I work for the LGBTQ Center. And then I'm just loosely involved in other organizations, which I'm always happy to talk about. So I'm glad to be here.
I love it. Ryan.
Okay. What's up, everyone? I did not rehearse this at all, so we're gonna see how I do. But yeah, so I'm a fourth-year student, which is crazy because that's crazy. That's crazy to say I'm a fourth-year student. But I'm a fourth-year student. I'm from the 757 area, so specifically Norfolk. And let's see, my major, I'll talk about this more later, but I made my own major through the school, and you can do that through like the ECHLS program. I can talk about that as well. And it's like just a mixture of different things like philosophy, art, African American studies, and English. So I know a lot of departments and things like that, so I can talk about that as well. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. We have a wonderful set for y'all, so hopefully y'all enjoy it.
Yeah, Well, I am so grateful that y'all are here. One, because it takes the pressure off of me to sort of entertain and do this thing. So it's wonderful to share the stage. But even more importantly, I think students need to hear from other students. Because in many ways, you all will shape the experience of one another in ways that I only dream of as a dean in student affairs. So maybe we'll just start with some simple questions. I guess if either one of you, we can just have both of you answer. Really, what's your experience been like here at UVA? Can you just talk about that?
I don't know if you want to go first or I can go first. Doesn't matter. Okay. Um, yeah, so my experience here has been it's been like a bit of a roller coaster because when I came in, it was like the COVID year. So that was like something. So it's mostly online, all this kind of stuff. And it was just like, me and my roommate all the time, going to the dining hall and things like that. So it was very different from like my second year, which felt like a first year again, and then obviously my third and fourth year. Well, soon to be fourth year. But so yeah, it's been like a roller coaster in that sense, purely there. In regards to just like being a student on campus and things like that, I think like it's been very gradual in regards to like my experience of like meeting people, finding my interests and all these kinds of things. And I could talk more about this later, but essentially like, right, like the first year, it was online and things like that. So it was just like, I don't know, kind of harder to meet people, obviously. And then, my second year, I was able to meet more people, make more friends. And then, eventually I was introduced to Dean Mason, who's the one talking to you and leading this whole thing. And that was, a very good thing for me because I was also able to meet a bunch of Black students at the OAAA office and things like that. So that was very nice. And that was very eye-opening as well. And then, yeah, just getting involved in different orgs, like things like that happened gradually. And so, yeah, I can speak way more about this, but I'll talk more later.
What about you, Tashara?
I promise after this year, y'all will stop hearing people complain about coming into college during COVID, but we really did. And so that was definitely a big challenge because, you couldn't go that many places. And so I really didn't discover, I guess I would say, my UVA self until my second year. But I really did appreciate my first year because I got to really understand like UVA academics a lot more. I think when you come in as a first year in person, you have like the academic side and the social side, but because that was lacking my first year, I really got to dive into some really cool classes. So I was pretty like, even though the social side, like Ryan said, we weren't allowed to do many things. And so we didn't really get to like find community in the way that we do now. I really did enjoy, like I took a meditation class my first semester on Zoom and I still had a blast. And so I got to really understand UVA academically. And then I would say now my experience, I sum it up as like me finding myself and finding community. I think that those have been two really big like things in my life at UVA. And this has been, like I said, through academics, but also through like a lot of the community building things that OAAA puts on, as well as the student organizations. And I know in later questions, like I will probably tell you about all the organizations that I found home in, but they have truly made my UVA experience what it has been. And I think that it would not be the same sort of without that. But it has been a roller coaster. I sort of like as everyone's college experience is, but I've loved my time here. And it'll like definitely be something I look back on and sort of see a lot of growth. But yeah.
So let me follow up with that. I do have a follow-up I'm interested as a younger UVA student, how did you find your way to organizations? I imagine some people are thinking about that.
I guess I can start. I have pondered over this question for a while because we have the activities fair every year. So that's how most people find organizations that they want to join in their first year. This year it'll be on August 21st. So definitely look out for that. But we didn't have that, or at least I didn't attend that. And so it was a lot of social media, which makes sense because it was COVID and everything was online. And so I think that the first organization I ever joined here was the Black Student Alliance. I actually like texted them like prior to coming to UVA because I was just so eager to know what the Black community was like. But I think that I joined a committee. I signed up to be in the Academic Career Development Committee, and that sort of like put my foot into the door for learning about other organizations. One, because BSA puts a lot of events on, and so just in those spaces you get to like talk to other Black students, and then there are also just a lot of different events within BSA. So a lot of, like I said, I was in the Academic Career Development Committee, but there were special events, a lot of hangouts, a lot of game nights, etc. But there are a lot of collaboration events that orgs do as well. And so that's how I was able to sort of step out of BSA as well and do other things. And so that's how I like got my foot into being involved at UVA, was just like following along. Like if there's an org that you see doing something interesting on Instagram, find out how you can get involved. Like orgs are like desperate for members always, because we just like, there's more power with more people, and you can really like spread that mission when more people are involved. So that like BSA was my entry point into like the wide world of other Black orgs, cultural orgs, political advocacy orgs, etc. And so that's how I found it at UVA. It'll be a lot easier for y'all because there will be a big fair with like tables of tables where you can visit. So you have it a bit easier, but yeah.
Okay, I gotta see, mine was like different. I got like a different story because I do not really have the social media stuff. So okay, here's my words of advice. Here's wisdom I can impart. I think one thing would be like, just, you know, your friends, make friends, because your friends will be in orgs, they'll be interested in things, and then they'll bring you to things, you'll go to things, it'll be like that. Also just be open. Like the way I met Dean Mason was like completely random, and it was because of my mom. I'm not gonna lie to you. She like met him, my sister was visiting, she was in high school, and Lily mom was like, you got to talk to this guy. And, you know, so I talked to him, and then Dean Mason was like very open, was like, oh yeah, come by. And I came by, and, you know, the rest was history. So also, again, just being open, talking to people, and things will, you know, things will pop up. Cause I know for the introverts out there too, like things will come to you too. You know, you don't always have to put yourself out there as well. Just be open. In regards to orgs, and especially with orgs too, like I have friends, yeah, that are all different kinds of orgs. So they'll invite me to events, and then you meet people there that are in different orgs. So again, just going to things like that. And then also, yeah, you can like make orgs. I've been down that path. You know, all kinds of things. So yeah, I think the big thing is just being open, and honestly just trying to enjoy it as well. Cause like they should be a little pressure, you know, like you're doing school already. So you should be hanging out with people, going to see your friends, even talking to professors. That's a big thing too. I can talk more about that later. But even like your professors might be like, oh, there's something going on, or oh, they might know a student wants to, you know, say something in class. So there's always things, you know, you can always find out that way as well. But yeah, that's my advice there.
Yeah. Now, one thing I used to tell people a lot that, you know, OAAA has figured out a whole lot. And I would tell people very clearly, we figured out a lot, but we haven't figured out how to get the magic to people who don't come to OAAA. We're working on that, and we're getting better. I think what I'm hearing here is, regardless of extroversion, introversion, comfortability, you got to put yourself out there in some way, whether it's in safe ways, as a group members or participants in events, but you can't just stay in your dormitory. So I think in some ways what the two of you are saying is just be outside, try things. And what you may discover is some of that stuff will stick, and some of it will lead you to other places. So just be outside. Tashara, you ended your thought by saying that you loved parts of this. I wonder if we can stay with that. Can the two of you just talk a little bit about what you loved most about UVA that you think other colleges may not have offered you? I'm trying to make people feel good about choosing UVA, by the way. So, you know, y'all ain't paid actors, and here we are.
Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
Yes, why not? Whoever.
Okay. I think the biggest thing here, especially being like a minority student, is that there's a lot of resources here, and I think it's good to like try and use those resources, and especially like I can give just a clear example. Like, so I'm in like also like in the art department and things like that, and I do a lot of stuff with film. And I literally let's see, it was like past January, right? There's just like a random flyer on like the wall or something. It's just like, oh, there's like a New York trip, and we're going to New York for like 2 weeks in January, and it's like, just apply, and it's completely paid and everything. And this was like a completely new thing. I didn't know that much about it. And like, I don't think, you know, like, and my friend was like, oh yeah, there's a flyer, you see it? You know, next thing I know, I apply and then I'm going to New York for 2 weeks. And then go to New York, right? There's like, it's like the first time they do it. There's this professor there, a great professor. His name is like Federico. And he does a lot with like, especially indigenous communities and especially like Spanish indigenous communities and things like that. But anyways, I meet him there and he's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about doing a program in Mexico for the summer. And he was like, you should apply. And then next thing I know, I went to Mexico this summer and was able to do a program like that. So there's like a lot of resources there that you can take advantage of. And just, again, it's just like by being open, just noticing things, walking around, meeting people, talking to people, things like that. So that's like something that I found. And like, even there's so many things here. Like, I'm a big advocate, okay, of guest lectures. This not a lot of students go, I'm not gonna lie to you. Not a lot of students go. It's mostly like professors and stuff like that. But there's a lot of guest lectures and they're crazy interesting. Like I went to one like Latinx art and activism and like the theater. I've been to ones on like earthquake poetry. You know, there's like really all kinds. There's like a bunch in the architecture building as well. And they're like all open and, you know, you can just go by, sit down. And so I found those highly valuable. So I learned a lot outside the classroom through those. And then I think also, yeah, beyond trips, also like, oh, I'm gonna preach this. Office hours and professors, because like, you know, obviously, right, you're not gonna perhaps vibe with all your professors, but I'm sure there's gonna be some classes you take and you'll be like, oh, this is so interesting, you know, or oh, I don't know something, I want to ask something, right? But then, you know, you're like, I don't know if I should, like, you know, things like that. Go to the office hours, talk to professors, because also like there's a lot of wisdom there as well that you can learn. And I always get like tons of like book recommendations, tons of like even just like I don't know, just all kinds of recommendations. And you like also like you never know what they're doing too. For instance, like, you know, a lot of these professors are like doing interesting projects, or they're working on books, or, you know, especially like I can even just speak to one too. Like I have a film professor, and he's like always doing kind of stuff. So he did this series of films called like the Blackfire films. And he works with like Quadrina, who's also in the African American Studies department. And essentially they're working on a film and they were like, oh yeah, like, you know, anyone can combine the class and help out on this film. And, you know, so I was able to do that. So like, there's all kinds of things like that too, just by talking to professors. And I could probably go on, but like, I feel like I'm talking for a second. So I'll stop.
Yeah, I initially had one answer for this and now I have three. So this is really, really me pumping up UVA. The first is the professors, because obviously the professors here are not elsewhere. And so I think that I've really, really enjoyed some of the professors I've had, like really great mentors, definitely look up to them, and they're like crazy knowledgeable in their field, specifically at the Woodson Institute, which is our Institute for African American Studies. And so that's the first thing I'll say is what I've most enjoyed about UVA, and like I don't think is offered at other schools. I took a critical race theory last semester, and it was probably one of the best classes I've ever taken here. My second answer is student self-governance, which is very on brand for me, but also like I really have enjoyed the sort of faith that UVA has had in its students, and also its emphasis on the student voice and student power. Yes, those have limits, but I think that a lot of big changes and also like a lot of community building that I've seen at the university has come from student initiatives, or student initiatives working in tandem with the offices, like the Office of African American Affairs. So I've just enjoyed how like you can get, like you can start your own organization very easily. Like, yes, there's a process, but it's pretty easy. You can like build your own community. You can like advocate for the community and like have that sort of momentum with other people. That's one thing that I've learned and have really appreciated being here. And let me tell you, I've talked to a lot of students at other schools and they don't trust students like that. They don't talk to students like that. Like it's a clear divide and students go for their academics. And I think that a lot of my personal growth as like a person and as a student has come from those outside experience where I could be in the room, advocate for students, and try to see or try to have an influences in the changes that I want to see. So student self-governance is my second answer, and I forgot my third answer. So, but those are the two things, the professors and student self-governance.
I love it. So So Ryan, you're being very kind and you'll keep going first. I'm gonna let y'all keep, I ain't gonna change up the system here, but I do wonder, you all have been through some things and you've learned a lot. And I have two like developmental questions I would love to ask. First, if you were coming into UVA as a first year again, I don't wish that on anybody to have to repeat that. But if you were coming in as a first year, what would you do differently?
I can go first again if you want me to.
I'm noticing a pattern.
Yeah, because it's like I'm just talking. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna say. All right. What would I do differently? Okay. Again, I don't want to bring up the COVID stuff, but I'll say like things I think I did well and things I think I could have improved on. One thing was, yeah, like with the code stuff, it was good to like get a sense of like the academic sense of the university. I think that's very true. I think it was also though good. I spent a lot of time like, you know, because we're all inside and stuff. And this I think this still applies like to y'all coming in as well, but like definitely like explore, like either like department wise, even like geography wise. Cause like I, know some students that like even today are like, don't even know this is there, this monument is there, or that oh, that's the architecture building, or oh, that's the drama building, or oh, that's where that is. Or oh, there's like a pathway here, or oh, so I think definitely exploring, that's something I did like my first year when I was coming in a lot. And I was like, I guess I would be going on little runs in the morning. I'd be like, okay, like, and then I would get lost sometimes, but it was all good. I would do stuff like that. I think also like trying things as well. Like, I think that's always important, right? Because obviously you can, learn a lot, right? By like obviously going to these things like reading or doing your, your homework or whatever, and going to these lectures, but also like doing things, going out there, not being afraid. Cause like, I feel like one thing we're taught about with college and stuff like that is like, oh, it's like, you're preparing for like the adult world, or, oh, you're doing this kind of thing. But no, like you can do stuff now, like, and I'm sure like, you can get involved with things, political or otherwise. Like, don't be afraid of that. Just put yourself out there. And I think you should do that. And then, okay, things I could have done differently. I remember like, my, like, yeah, okay. I remember like, yeah, my first year, I was like, I feel like I was a little more quiet, and it was just me and my roommate, hanging out all the time. And I wish that I put myself out there more to hang out with people. Like my roommate and I would just go everywhere together, and it was just like, it was great. And I love my roommate. But I was like, yeah, we both were like, yeah, like I wish I had more hallmates, or oh, we wish we did more of this kind of stuff. And I also think it's important to like explore classes wise, because I remember I came in to UVA and I was like, oh, I think I want to be like a philosophy major, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what I want to do. So like I tried a couple classes like that, and I was like, okay, that was cool, but like let me try more stuff. So I think like definitely like explore different classes, because now's like the time, especially because you don't have to declare to like your second year and stuff like that. So even if you think you're gonna do something, like you'll be surprised, because like I had no idea I'd be where I am like my first year. So I think definitely explore. And then since y'all are coming in and you have like, more resources and obviously more of like the social life that you guys can tap into and things like that, I think like definitely like talking to professors and things like that early, because especially as a first year, a lot of these professors sometimes, right? Like I think Dean Mason said like orgs are trying to get to you, but also like, these classes and the departments like also want people to get involved and things like that. So like you'll be surprised about what opportunities like can happen or pop up if they're like, oh, like they're interested, they're first year, like, oh, maybe like they'd be interested in doing this, and then you can like do all kinds of things like that. And there's like a lot of obviously like TAing things too that you can get into, and different like STEM things like that. But yeah, I think I answered it. Maybe I'll think of more stuff after you talk, but I don't know.
What about you, Tashara?
I would echo the point. I wish that I had explored Charlottesville more. I think there's a lot of beautiful nature around. There are a lot of like cool restaurants that I have not yet been. And so I'm really going to be racking up my fourth year trying to do all those things. And so the earlier you do them, the more time you sort of have later, and just really appreciate those things. I think also I'm speaking from me thinking my second year was my first year, because that's how we view it. But I think that I should have went to like more events maybe, because that's again, like, even if let me backtrack. I think that it's good, it's okay to go to events and not be in the organization. It's like you can be in as many organizations as you want to, but sometimes if an org is doing something cool, it might be cool to just go to the events and not necessarily join the organization too. And so I think that that's one thing that I wish I redid, is like thinking of, like, critically thinking about what things I wanted to join, but also about what things I just wanted to simply go to and have fun. So I like D. Mason said, like, your dorm is your comfort place, but definitely take those risks and go to the events, go to the OAAA Black Fridays, because you will really, really appreciate free food at some point when you don't want to eat at the dining hall anymore. And just like go to a random movie night on a Wednesday night. Like you might have a test on Friday, you can study for it on Thursday, go on Wednesday night to the movie night because you will enjoy it. So I think if I could redo first year again, I would just explore Charlottesville more and go to more events that just seemed very, very interesting to me.
Yes.
I have a confession real quick. I was gonna say, yes, like definitely go to the org events. Even you don't have to be a part of it, because I do that all the time. All my friends are like very involved. Maybe I should be more involved, but they're all really involved and they'll tell me about stuff and I will just go to it, and it's a great time. So definitely go stuff and support your homies, because I'm sure you're like the friends you'll make and the friends you already have there are probably gonna be doing crazy things. Like I have a couple of friends that'd be like, oh yeah, I'm DJing a set for this kind of thing. Like, you want to come? Like, I'm not in the org, but yes, I'm gonna come, you know? So things like that. Okay.
Yeah. And I love the beauty of the two of you being, here as student reps, is that in some ways, the two of you have made your way through the university quite differently. And I think it is very interesting that Ryan, if I had to say in 20 something years of looking at student development and looking at students, I would say you are probably one of the most engaged students that I've met. Even if you don't have on your list of, all of the orgs you're a part of, all of the student leadership positions you have, you are making good use of this university in the way that you choose to. And I think, Tashara, you're in a different space, right? You probably have a very competitive pedigree, right? Leadership pedigree. You've done a lot and you've led a lot. Obviously, to get where you are, you've done formal leadership, and that's okay. And I think the beauty of this is that people can sort of make good use of this place however they choose. And it's okay. You don't have to lead everything. You don't have to be a part of everything. And you can still engage it. And that's what we hope to get across today. So I wonder, though, as we sort of get ready, I want to save a few minutes for questions if there are some. I wondered, two thoughts. I think y'all are two cool people. Really. How would you say UVA has contributed to you becoming the cool you? I guess the answer could be not really, but we let's hope it's positive.
Again, I can go first. But do you want me to go first? Okay. Okay. Cool, me. Okay. I think I'm gonna cycle back to that what I said earlier about, yeah, like the resources and meeting people. I've made, everyone's like, oh, you go to college, like, you'll meet your best friends, all these kinds of things. And I remember like my first year, even considering my second year is my first year, even I was like, oh, like I've met some people, but like I still don't really know. So like I think also like the patience too of like giving yourself patience when meeting people. Like it doesn't have to happen right away. Like I remember my roommate, he's got like a whole friend group right now. And I was like look at you go. But like your friends will obviously, like, I think have contributed a lot. So I think we talked a lot about the resources and the people here, like, I guess bureaucratic wise, but also like the students here, I think have also contributed a lot to that, because my friends put me on a lot of stuff. I think the campus itself is like, there's like, in like the Charlottesville area, there's always a lot going on. So like, and again, this is what I said, like just talking to people and just being open. Like there's a giant film fest here. So like, just even like knowing things like that are going on in the area, have I been able to be exposed to, and I guess it's helped me grow, so to speak. And I think also too, specifically about UVA, and I guess like the path I did was like, like I was able to do like a major, and I think that like contributed a lot to like the things I've been interested in regards to that, and like giving me the freedom to, I guess, experiment in that way. And then also build like a network of professors, students, departments even that were like supportive and everything. Cause I don't know if you remember this, you might remember this detail, but earlier I did refer to like all my professors through their first name. So some professors are like very chill in that sense, you know, some aren't. But that just goes to show you that like the people you make, the friends you make are like, you know, it's like it's cross, I guess, generational. So I consider D Mason my friend. So but yeah, okay. And okay, so the question was right. What was the question again? It was
That was perfect.
okay.
Tashara, what you thinking?
I think academically, I think the person I am today is, I would attribute to my professors. Like I said, like I look up to a lot of them, especially a lot of the Black faculty at UVA, because I know that the space that they're navigating now, as well as the space that they had to navigate to get to where they are. So I think that they're really, really great role models. And even if you are majoring in African-American studies or WGS, or anything of that nature, like taking a class or even engaging with the Woodson department, they have guest speakers too. Like I think that has helped me as a Black student sort of find myself in the academic space. And so I attribute a lot of that to my Black professors. And then I can echo what Ryan said about like your friends, and like the resources that UVA has, being an important part of like your growth. I think that my friends encouraged me to do a lot of things that I would have initially not wanted to do or would have been scared to do. And so like tapping into the community, I guess more largely, I would say the community, is how I got here today. So I would say OAAA too, like I love the peer advisor program. I was a peer advisor for 2 years, and being able to look up to older students for guidance in those like formal spaces, but also informally. And then also just like, again, being able to go to OAAA like whenever and for whatever has been helpful to me academically and socially.
Love it. So I want to give you all, I know it's late and some people have to get food. So I want to try to make sure we stay close to time. I guess I wonder, I don't know if you all out there in the audience have questions for us. Feel free to put those wherever you need to put those. But I just wonder, as we sort of wrap up, I'll let y'all decide again order of who speaks. But I guess I'm just wondering if we had to say, as a parting gift, what advice would you have for an incoming student? What would you say?
I'll go first for this one. My parting piece of advice is you only do first year once, and this isn't to put like a lot of pressure, because you have 3 other years. I promise, like everything will be okay, but you only do first year once. So take classes you're interested in, go to events you're interested in, join clubs, lead clubs. Like you are very, very much in a spot where you're finding who you are at UVA. If you don't do that in the first week, you might do it in the second year. Like that's also okay. But you only do it once. And so really put yourself out there is my parting piece of advice.
Okay, I got a few things, I think. Okay. Number one. Time you enjoy wasting was not wasted. There's so many times I'm like, okay, like I could be working on a paper, I could be working on this, I could be doing that. But a lot of the times ideas come, or even just like meeting people has come from just random things. So like I think that's a big thing. There's like obviously, right, like being in a school like this, there's a lot of pressure to be like, oh, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that, competitive nature, whatever, especially being like, right, a minority student, things like that. I'm at this institution. So I think it's important just to give yourself that freedom. And then, you know, obviously you learn by doing, but also, you know, you learn to like, there's different forms of doing. It's not all production, so to speak. And then, okay, I got more advice. Oh, I never talked about the Eccles program. Okay, so I'm an Eccles scholar. I don't know why I did that. ECHL Scholar. Essentially, it's like it's something I didn't even know about, but like some first years will be like automatically admitted as ECHL Scholars, and essentially what that means is like that they have like priority for like picking classes, and that they also can like don't have any like gen ed requirements, so they can like kind of take whatever classes they want. Now, I was not admitted as an ECHL Scholar, but I found out about it, and I was like, oh, you can apply before your second year. So you all should all definitely do that, because not a lot of people know about it, or like people know about it, but like not everyone's applying. So like obviously, so definitely do it, because like it will free up your schedule so much, because then you don't have to like worry about, oh, I gotta take this required class and this required class. Like you still have to do that for majors, but like in regards to all the gen ed stuff, you can just like do whatever you want. So that goes to my third piece of advice, which is like just, and I'm not gonna curse, just take random classes. Just take random classes, do like anything. So like I've done like a Buddhist meditations class, I've done like science fiction, and like a sociology class, done like an African cinema class, I've done like, you know, poetry writing, I've done like a bunch of random things that they don't really necessarily seem to connect. But you know, just do that. And I definitely recommend take a WGS class. There's not a lot of people in those classes, but those classes are amazing. So take like, and WGS means women gender studies, in case you don't know, but take a women gender studies class, because that's a great department as well. And like I guess also feel free to like not, I guess the way people say is like expect the unexpected, but almost like invite the unexpected, so to speak. So like you know, like jump into things, and like even with these classes sometimes, like I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna like this, but I was like, it sounds interesting, let me try it. So I think that's important as well. Okay, I'm trying to think of any last advice. I think that's all I got. I think I'll echo again, office hours, talking to professors. That's like really important. They will recommend so many things, books, movies, shows, music, otherwise. Use the resources at Office of African Affairs. Talk to Dean Mason when you get here. He's very nice, very cordial, and he will be your best mate. He'll help you out. And yeah, I think I'll end on that.
Thank you for that awesome advertisement. Yes, I am available. I hope to be a good colleague to all of you. I do want to just end here. I know that we don't see questions here. If you do have questions, if you think of something, you rewatch this, Ms. Angela Comfort is our office manager. She'll be receiving all of these questions for us. If you send her a specific question, I'll do my very best to try to get you a response, you know, well before you get here at UVA. The other thing is, I also want to make sure that I see you got your finger up, like you want to say something there, Ryan. I know we got some announcements that Matt is going to give us, but with this, I'll let Ryan have a word quickly, and then Matt can sort of do his thing, and then we'll be done. Please enjoy yourselves. College is going to be quickly upon you. Make good use of these 2, 3, 4 weeks before you get here, because home is also beautiful. All right, Ryan, last words.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
I forgot to say this. I was gonna say, obviously we can't see any of y'all's faces, but like if you see us on campus, like say what's up, say hi. I obviously like I probably won't recognize you, but I know I'm very easy to spot. I usually like skateboard around campus. If you see anyone skateboarding around, looks like me, just say hey, be like, oh yeah, you did the webinar. You know, I can help you with stuff if you have any questions. And I'm sure all of us can. So like I just like wanted to say that, but yeah.
Awesome. Last words, Matt.
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Tashara, Ryan, I know y'all got stuff to do, so feel free to hop off while I make these announcements. Don't feel like you need to stay and listen to me talk. But yes, thank you guys so much for being here for the words of wisdom. I got some intense sunlight in my face right now. But just some reminders from orientation. You still got some deadlines coming up in your new student portal. Those are going to be coming through until y'all move in. So make sure you're keeping up on those. You can get to that new student portal from our website, orientation.virginia.edu. Make sure you're checking your UVA email regularly. You'll be getting communications from us, communications from offices like OAAA. So just make sure you're checking up on that email. And if you have any just random questions throughout the summer, feel free to email our office, orientation@virginia.edu. If we don't know the answer, we are more than happy to put you in contact with the people that do. So please be sending us emails if you have any questions. This webinar and all of our summer webinars, our Wednesday webinars, are recorded. The recording of this one will be up in the next week or so. If you feel like you need to come back and you want to see some of those slides from the beginning of the presentation, or you just want to remember some of the words of wisdom from Tashara or Ryan, feel free to hop back on and then also check out the rest of our webinars. We have a few more coming up, so make sure you register for those. And yeah, that's my last bit. So thank you again so much for joining us tonight. And we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for joining.